And True Review is back in this series finale. So far during this mini-series, we have been looking at different video game villains. From spies to mad scientists, we've seen almost all of them. But it wouldn't make any sense to finish this series without the top 10 video game villains, and so here is True Review's top 10 holiday snaps.
Just kidding.
But before we start, I do have one condition to add to this list. Yeah, these characters have to have speaking parts. So, no Pyramid Head I'm afraid, no Emma Wade, and also, please remember that... what am I kidding, a lot of you will ignore this next bit. Seeing as this video is limited to 10 places, only 10 characters will be shown, so some of the most memorable villains will be left out. That's just how it is. Not enough spaces. Anyway... Vaas! Far Cry 3 was frickin' awesome, and head and shoulders above the other Far Crys. Warning, the opinions of this video are only endorsed by the true viewer himself and does not reflect the views of the wider world. However, it was the game's antagonist that really made this game shine. Although not being the main antagonist of the plot, the villain known as Vaas was the definition of insane. As a pirate/slave trader, Vaas's unpredictable nature meant that he is capable of almost anything, and you never really know exactly what he'll do next, whether he'll commend you for your actions, or just try to have you executed in many elaborate ways. As a result of both his lifestyle and the amount of illicit drugs that are forever present in his bloodstream, Vaas's personality is completely out of whack and far beyond his own control, getting himself into violent fits of rage for no apparent reason, and then suddenly becoming quite calm and coherent. And although he hints to Jason Brody that he himself is insane, the same reasoning that Vaas applies to Jason could also be applied back to him.
Did I ever tell you the definition of insanity? Oh, Jesus.
Working 9 to 5. What a way to make a living.
Shao Kahn. The daddy of Mortal Kombat, Shao Kahn is the Emperor of the Outer Realms and rules as such with an iron fist. With such power, Shao Kahn has corrupted himself and sees that it is permissible to do anything to anyone within his domain as their souls are rightfully his. However, his eyes are far bigger than his stomach, and he has now set them upon the mortal realm and planet Earth. With an army of undead, demons, ninjas and sorcerers behind him, Shao Kahn will stop at nothing to become the supreme overlord of existence, and with all living organisms everywhere bowing down to him as their master.
And hold on tight, cause it's gonna be wilder than any 8-second ride.
M. Bison. This Street Fighter 2 character, like all true villains, has his heart set on world domination. By establishing a secret crime syndicate and then having them influence the world governments, he hopes to become the puppet master of the world and have them do whatever he wants. What exactly that is, it's unsure, but if you're wondering if he'll be a good leader or not, well then don't forget that he has something called psycho power. I have no idea what that is, but it doesn't sound good.
Lane Goodman.
Albert Wesker. First appearing in the first Resident Evil game, where he died, this Umbrella spy eventually came back to life due to the T-virus successfully binding with his own DNA, and was thrown back into the story as a superpowered badass. Now with his newfound powers of being able to dodge bullets, yet still being able to sound like the Postal Dude, Albert Wesker is determined to cover the world in an advanced version of the T-virus and reign supreme as a goddamn god. Robotnik. The main villain of the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise, Dr. Robotnik, or Eggman as he's being called nowadays, decides the capture and enslavement of all sentient life as we know it on the planet. To do this, he's been known to constantly capture and kidnap creatures, most of which are Sonic's friends, and force them into robots, thus turning them into mindless soldiers of destruction. All of this, of course, is just practice for Sonic, who is able to clear up this mess quickly, but not before being confronted by Dr. Robotnik and one of his many giant robots of death.
And my wife is dead.
I'm sorry to hear that.
High five!
Bowser! The King of the Koopas comes in at number 5. Bowser has been the main enemy to the much loved Italian plumber known as Mario for many decades now. His plans for conquest goes beyond all of those I've mentioned so far, as not only is he trying to achieve total and utter dominion of the Mushroom Kingdom, but he also has an unhealthy obsession of marrying Princess Peach, who Mario apparently has dibs on already. To be honest, I always thought that Peach was f***ing annoying as shit, and I'm also betting that Daisy is feeling pretty left out here, seeing as Peach always gets in the spotlight. Shodan! What could be worse than being stranded in the cold reaches of space with no memory, an entire space war vessel that somehow has come to life and is trying to kill you, and a strange alien race that's trying to absorb you? How about an all-perfect and condescending AI who's hell-bent on universal domination and also wants to have you killed? In fact, in the first System Shock, Shodan also tries to have you turned into a mindless slave by having you captured and turned into a cyborg. But don't worry kids, that only happens if you die. By merging cyberspace with actual space, Shodan wants to establish control over every inch of existence and converts all forms of life into mindless cyborg servants, willing and ready to do her bidding. And with the occasional insult and comparing the character to an insect, Shodan could go down in history as one of the most sinister characters ever in a video game. Psycho Mantis! It's strange how Psycho Mantis has achieved such worldwide appreciation, but it must be remembered that he was only in one Metal Gear Solid game, 2 if you want to get technical, and he was killed not too far into the first game. However, Psycho Mantis had such an impact on us when we first stumbled across him in the first Metal Gear Solid game that most of us have crowned him as one of the most memorable video game characters ever. And that's not just villains, that's all characters ever. And who can blame someone for thinking that of him? He's able to read your mind by telling you which games you've been playing recently, or how often you've saved the game, and for the first time ever in a video game, this character can read your every move and is able to avoid almost all of your attacks. And when he can't be bothered to attack you personally, he can always just get Meryl to do it for him. Ganon! The classic arch-nemesis in the Legend of Zelda franchise, Ganon wants it all. He started out his evil career as part of a thieves community, but later became too good at what he did that he eventually had to leave the group. He then set his eyes on the ultimate prize, that was the Triforce, an artifact left by the gods that can grant the wish of any who touched it. Succeeding in this endeavour, Ganondorf took control of the world the Triforce resided in, thus turning it from a golden land into the Dark World, and began to plot to invade the Light World and capture the Kingdom of Hyrule. His evil powers are so vast that they have even turned him into a vile monster, resembling a pig more than a man now, possibly as a representation of his greed for power, and the limits of his power are almost completely unknown to both the world of Hyrule and to the players themselves.
One more time,
well, you found me. Congratulations. Was it worth it? Because despite your violent behavior, the only thing you've managed to break so far is my heart.
GLaDOS! GLaDOS has many similar characteristics to that of Shodan. However, GLaDOS' personality is somewhat unpredictable. With Shodan, you know what you're getting most of the time, as she's either trying to manipulate you or simply have you killed. Whereas GLaDOS' ambitions have a far more malevolent nature. She will use all of her cunning and intelligence to play with Shell in a twisted and manipulative way, but only for her own amusement. Shell is a toy for GLaDOS to mess around with, and when she's had her fun with her, then she'll dispose of her in the most horrific and terrifying possibility imaginable. As GLaDOS is an AI with all forms of morality and sanity having previously been removed, it is never clear what she'll do next, or how far she'll go to have her way with you in what could be an eternity of endless suffering in the depths of the Aperture Science Facility. And for those reasons, GLaDOS wins the #1 place on the top 10 video game villains list. And with that, the series comes to a close. Stay tuned next time for a brand new series with a brand new topic, but until then, don't forget to catch up on all the previous True Review episodes that you've missed, and like and subscribe to my channel if you like what you see. Or, are you having trouble with the technical side of your PC games? If so, then head on over to Robert Court's Tech Support Show right here on YouTube for the answers in a step-by-step guide to fixing your games. See you soon.
Drop the weapon now! It's my own damn fault! Just shut up! Let him go now! Drop it on the floor now! Drop the weapon!
Sorry?
What do you want?
I just want my bacon and eggs.